So we haven't talked about this all week. And maybe bad job out of us. Or maybe good job out of us. But Kevin
saved
Stefanski.
it for today.
Yeah, we saved it for today. Kevin Stefanski worked for Mike Zimmer from 2014 to 2019 on the Minnesota Vikings staff. Stefanski coached the running backs, the tight ends, the quarterbacks, and then he was the offensive coordinator while Mike Zimmer was the head coach. Mike Zimmer is now the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. It's been a few years since 2019, but knowing how long they worked together, Jason, I want to start with you. Is there an advantage either way in this matchup, knowing how well these coaches know how each other thinks? Does either side have an edge in this coaching advantage?
Yeah, I think Kevin has the advantage, actually, because Zim hasn't changed, and Zim does what Zim does. And Jay said it earlier, there is no film on this offense anywhere to be found. So if there is any sort of advantage to be had, the Browns have it, because Mike Zimmer can know everything he wants to know about Kevin Stefanski and how he loves tight ends and he loves play action. Allegedly, that's no longer the case here. So how can you be confident in your preparation when you don't really know what you're going to see?
Right. Yep.
So I don't know how much of an edge it is, but if you want to give an edge to either side, I think it's Cleveland's.
G?
These questions are very difficult because, like, I'm all, teams are smart enough to break tendencies. Like, I could have known you 4 years ago. That's like me and Bull both like food, right? But I don't know what Bull gonna eat for lunch. Like, he might eat a bunch of stuff. It's a lot of restaurants out there, bro. It don't really work that way. It's like, you could come into this game and obviously you're gonna have your scripted plays that you're gonna run, but you can't really figure out what a person's gonna do because you've been around them for 4 or 5 years. Yes, they may have the core tendencies of, hey, I like to run this on first down, or I like to run cover one, or I like to bring a lot of pressure, kind of like what Jim Schwartz does. But I don't think you can glean anything from that because every year when you start a new season, you start over, right? You don't have any tendencies on paper. Like, you just can recreate what you want to do. Now, in crunch time, when there's 2 or 3 seconds or those 2 or 3 plays that really the game is boiled down to, everybody has tendencies on what they're gonna ride or die with. Like, if it's Jim Schwartz, he's gonna play man-to-man coverage. I would guess, and everybody knows that. But at the end of the day, it comes to execution. Are you gonna execute? You can know if somebody's running a power toss, but are you gonna get off a block and make the play?
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I actually agree with both of you. I think if I had to pick who had an edge, I would say Stefanski, but I don't really believe there's an edge either way. They haven't coached together in 5 years. I mean, how well did Mike Zimmer know Kevin Stefanski? He was for most of the time there, he was a position coach.
Oh, I think he knew him fairly well.
But
they spent quite a bit of time together, quite a few years together.
I know,
and he
but
was the OC.
No, I'm not saying know him like he knows him personally. I'm just saying Kevin Stefanski didn't have any power in Minnesota until he was the OC that last year.
Yeah, they only had 1 year together where he was the chief of the offense.
So how's he going to know? Like, he probably doesn't know his tendencies beyond what everybody else knows. I mean, it's a very incestuous business. These guys all know each other pretty well, I think.
Yeah, but when you're spending every day with him, even if it is only 1 year, I think you get to know him very well.
Yeah.
Kevin downplayed it. Kevin was asked about it this week, and he downplayed it.
Yeah.
That it's really, but he downplayed it.
And I think it's smart for him to downplay it. But I'm with Jason. Yeah. When you are in the trenches with someone, even if it was just for 17 games or 16, I think they had a 16-game schedule back then. If you're as the head coach, this stuff is all being filtered through you. So you're hearing in meetings Kevin say, Mike, I really think that this is the way we have to go. Because you're kind of pitching your game plan to the head coach every week, even though you're the OC. You're running things through the head coach. So I think there's a great deal of knowledge both ways. I think Kevin knows Mike's defense and what he likes to do. And I think that on this flip side, Mike knows what Kevin likes to do on offense. I'm exactly where you are. I don't give a huge advantage. I don't even know if it's worth a point or two. But I do think that Kevin's offense is a complete mystery. There is a blanket over it. And we know this much. When they do pull the blanket off, it's going to look different. We've been told that things have been changed, and pretty radical changes, like tentpole changes to this offense. So when we pull that black curtain off of this offense Sunday, we certainly will be surprised. And I think there will be a lot of times where Mike Zimmer was like, wow, didn't see that. And remember, now we have a new offensive coordinator even though Kevin's calling the plays.
That's part of it.
What kind of input do we have now from the new OC that Mike Zimmer will be completely in the dark to?
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be a bit of a hybrid. Like, there's some things Kevin Stefanski may like that he likes to see in certain offenses that he puts in, and he mixes that and matches it with what Ken Dorsey does. I think Ken Dorsey is the wild card because you got a guy who's come over. He's the offensive coordinator. I just think he has a bunch to say about what the plays look like and the concepts of drawing them up.
You would think.
And I just think that Kevin is the guy who's calling the plays, right? Out of the mix that they put together on game day, out of menu of plays. So I think he has a big role to play in it, which kind of throws it off a little bit. Maybe Zimmer isn't as familiar with Dorsey.
I would imagine Mike Zimmer, if you're scouting this game and trying to scheme your defense, you would go look at Buffalo.
Yep.
And you'd go look at Houston Deshaun.
Mm-hmm. I would.
And try. I'm not saying you're going to spend weeks on it, but you at least want to be familiar with the concepts and the route trees and everything else, because I think that is probably a better indication of what you're going to see on Sunday than the Browns even last year.
And the good teams and the good coaches can adjust on the fly fairly quickly.
Yeah.
If the game plan from the opposite team is not what you expected going in.
Right.
If you're a top coach and a top defense or whatever offense, you're adjusting. I mean, you're always adjusting on the fly because even if they are doing what you think, well, maybe you're not maybe you thought you were going to stop the run and you were going to struggle against the pass, and maybe it's the opposite, and you got to change things up. So,
where there may be some carryover, and I disagree, Bull, G, on one thing you said. You said that every year you just recreate yourself. That's true. Look at Andy Reid. But Andy Reid's vertebrae is the same. Now, the offshoots change year to year, but you're going to get trick plays. He's going to rely on speed at the receiver position. So I do think that every year you go back into the lab and you try to recreate some things and add some wrinkles. But the vertebrae, I think, remains the same. And where Zimmer might have an advantage based on that, when you get into play calling situations, I may not know what 3rd and 6 will exactly look like, but I do know what his DNA says he likes to do on 3rd and 6. Mm-hmm. The play might be different, but on 3rd and 6, Kevin likes to throw to tight ends. So let's bring in our heavy package on tight end pass coverage and play it from there.
But see, that's where self-scouting comes into play. You self-scout yourself. You break down the tape and you say, okay, what have we been doing on 3rd down?
Right.
And
to keep yourself honest.
And then they keep the analytics comes out and say, well, listen, coach, we're heavy on throwing the tight ends on 3rd down. Well, okay, in this position, if we get to 3rd and 4, we want to break tendency on that. Let's go another route because we know that they know that this is what we've been continually to do. Like, so self-scouting comes into that a little bit too, where you got to keep yourself honest on what you're doing in your game planning. You trust me. If it's 4th and 1, and you're like, I got the best offensive line, and Nick Chubb, I'm running the football.
Yeah.
But sometimes you do want to give a little wrinkle.
I think all teams do it. I think Kevin is really good at showing you something early to come back and give you that look and give you something different later.
I agree.
In money time, crunch time situations.
And
it doesn't always work.
Player.
And that's how you wind up with Jacoby Brissett coming in and throwing it to the end zone. And sometimes you pull your hair out and go, oh my God in heaven, what was that? But on the whole, I still give him credit for showing you something early and then coming back and giving you that same look and giving you something much different out of it later on.
Great chess players always play a few moves ahead.
Yeah.
And that's what Kevin's been very, very good at that. You're right. And hopefully that continues. But that's another one of the chess matches. The game within the game will be the Zimmer and Stefanski sort of battle of two old friends.
It's time for No Fence Riders, guys.